Maya's hands were shaking, but not from the cold. She'd been working on Mrs. Peterson's Honda since noon, and it was almost 8 at night. The old engine refused to cooperate, and Maya was running out of patience. Her small workshop in the quiet town of Brampton, just outside Toronto, Canada, wasn't much to look at. The roof leaked when it rained. The floor was stained with years of oil and grease. But it was hers. The only thing she had left. She wiped her forehead with the back of her hand and sighed. Her father used to say, "A good mechanic doesn't give up on an engine. Even when it gives up on itself." Maya could still hear his voice sometimes, late at night when the shop was quiet. She could still see him leaning over that old red Chevy in the corner, the one he said he'd fix up one day. The one he never got to finish. That was 5 years ago. Before he disappeared. Before the bills started piling up. Before Maya had to drop out of college and learn how to run the shop on her own. She was 25 now. Her dark brown skin was always smudged with grease no matter how many times she washed her hands. Her thick coily hair was usually tied back in a bun that never stayed neat. Her deep brown eyes had bags under them from too many sleepless nights. She wore the same faded blue overalls every day, paired with a black tank top and steel-toe boots that were falling apart. She didn't have money for new clothes. She barely had money for rent. But Maya didn't complain. She just worked. The rain started falling harder outside, drumming against the metal roof of the shop. Maya glanced out the window and frowned. It was going to be a long night. Then she heard it. The low rumble of an expensive engine. The kind of sound that didn't belong in a neighborhood like this. Maya walked to the garage door and looked out. A sleek black Maserati pulled up to the curb, its headlights cutting through the rain like knives. The car was perfect. Not a scratch on it. Not a speck of dirt. It looked like it cost more than Maya would make in 10 years. The engine sputtered and died. Maya raised an eyebrow. Even fancy cars break down, she thought. The back door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with pale white skin and sharp features that looked like they were carved from stone. His hair was jet black and slicked back, not a strand out of place even in the rain. His eyes were a cold, icy blue that seemed to look right through people. He wore a tailored black suit that probably cost more than Maya's entire shop, and his shoes were so shiny she could see her reflection in them. He didn't look at her. He looked at the shop like it was beneath him. 2 more men stepped out of the car. One was short and stocky with buzzed brown hair and a scar running down his left cheek. The other was tall and thin with slicked back blonde hair and a mean look in his eyes. Both of them wore dark suits and moved like they were used to hurting people. The tall man in the black suit finally looked at Maya. His expression didn't change. He just stared at her like she was an inconvenience. "You," he said. His voice was low and smooth, with a faint European accent. "Fix my car." Maya blinked. "Excuse me." "I don't repeat myself," the man said coldly. Maya crossed her arms. "Well, I don't take orders from strangers who show up at my shop without an appointment." The 2 men behind him tensed. The short one with the scar took a step forward, but the tall man in the suit raised his hand slightly, and the man stopped. The tall man's icy blue eyes locked onto Maya's. "Do you know who I am?" "Nope," Maya said flatly. "And I don't care." For the first time, the man's expression changed. Just a flicker of surprise. Like he'd been slapped and didn't know how to react. "My name is Adrian Volkov," he said slowly, like the name should mean something. Maya shrugged. "Nice to meet you, Adrian. I'm Maya. And like I said, I don't take walk-ins. You can call tomorrow and make an appointment like everyone else." Adrian's jaw tightened. "I don't wait." "Well, tonight you do," Maya shot back. "I've got 3 cars ahead of you, and I'm not bumping someone just because you think you're special." The blonde man behind Adrian stepped forward. "Watch your mouth, girl. You're talking to—" "I'm talking to a guy whose car broke down in the rain," Maya interrupted, her voice sharp. "And unless he wants to stand here all night, he can wait his turn or leave." Adrian held up his hand again, and the blonde man stepped back, scowling. Adrian studied Maya for a long moment. His cold blue eyes didn't blink. Most people looked away when he stared at them like that. But Maya didn't. She stared right back. Finally, Adrian spoke. "How much do you want?" Maya frowned. "What? How much do you want to move me to the front of the line?" Adrian said. Name your price. Maya let out a short laugh. You think I'm gonna take a bribe? I'm not that kind of mechanic. Everyone has a price, Adrian said coolly. Yeah, well, mine's not for sale, Maya said. She turned and walked back into the shop. You can leave your car here and come back tomorrow. Or you can take it somewhere else. Your choice. Adrian didn't move. He just stood there in the rain, staring at her retreating back like he couldn't believe what just happened. The short man with the scar leaned in and whispered, Boss, you want me to? No, Adrian said quietly. Leave her. The blonde man looked confused. But boss, she just. I said leave her, Adrian repeated, his voice like ice. The two men exchanged a glance but didn't argue. Adrian took one last look at the shop, his cold blue eyes narrowing slightly. Then he turned and walked back to the car. We'll push it to the side, Adrian said. And we'll be back tomorrow. The two men started pushing the Maserati to the curb. Adrian stood under the awning of a nearby building, watching the shop through the rain. Inside, Maya went back to work on Mrs. Peterson's Honda. Her hands were still shaking, but this time it wasn't from the cold. It was from adrenaline. She didn't know who Adrian Volkov was. But she had a feeling she'd just made a very dangerous enemy. And yet, for some reason, she couldn't stop smiling. If you're enjoying this story so far, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment and let me know what you think Maya should do next. And don't forget to like this video so more people can find it. Trust me, this story is just getting started. Maya's hands were shaking, but not from the cold. She'd been working on Mrs. Peterson's Honda since noon, and it was almost 8 at night. The old engine refused to cooperate, and Maya was running out of patience. Her small workshop in the quiet town of Brampton, just outside Toronto, Canada, wasn't much to look at. The roof leaked when it rained. The floor was stained with years of oil and grease. But it was hers. The only thing she had left. She wiped her forehead with the back of her hand and sighed. Her father used to say, a good mechanic doesn't give up on an engine. Even when it gives up on itself. Maya could still hear his voice sometimes, late at night when the shop was quiet. She could still see him leaning over that old red Chevy in the corner, the one he said he'd fix up one day. The one he never got to finish. That was 5 years ago. Before he disappeared. Before the bills started piling up. Before Maya had to drop out of college and learn how to run the shop on her own. She was 25 now. Her dark brown skin was always smudged with grease no matter how many times she washed her hands. Her thick coily hair was usually tied back in a bun that never stayed neat. Her deep brown eyes had bags under them from too many sleepless nights. She wore the same faded blue overalls every day, paired with a black tank top and steel-toe boots that were falling apart. She didn't have money for new clothes. She barely had money for rent. But Maya didn't complain. She just worked. The rain started falling harder outside, drumming against the metal roof of the shop. Maya glanced out the window and frowned. It was going to be a long night. Then she heard it. The low rumble of an expensive engine. The kind of sound that didn't belong in a neighborhood like this. Maya walked to the garage door and looked out. A sleek black Maserati pulled up to the curb, its headlights cutting through the rain like knives. The car was perfect. Not a scratch on it. Not a speck of dirt. It looked like it cost more than Maya would make in 10 years. The engine sputtered and died. Maya raised an eyebrow. Even fancy cars break down, she thought. The back door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with pale white skin and sharp features that looked like they were carved from stone. His hair was jet black and slicked back, not a strand out of place even in the rain. His eyes were a cold, icy blue that seemed to look right through people. He wore a tailored black suit that probably cost more than Maya's entire shop, and his shoes were so shiny she could see her reflection in them. He didn't look at her. He looked at the shop like it was beneath him. 2 more men stepped out of the car. One was short and stocky with buzzed brown hair and a scar running down his left cheek. The other was tall and thin with slicked-back blonde hair and a mean look in his eyes. Both of them wore dark suits and moved like they were used to hurting people. The tall man in the black suit finally looked at Maya. His expression didn't change. He just stared at her like she was an inconvenience. "You," he said. His voice was low and smooth, with a faint European accent. "Fix my car." Maya blinked. "Excuse me. I don't repeat myself," the man said coldly. Maya crossed her arms. Well, I don't take orders from strangers who show up at my shop without an appointment. The two men behind him tensed. The short one with the scar took a step forward, but the tall man in the suit raised his hand slightly, and the man stopped. The tall man's icy blue eyes locked onto Maya's. Do you know who I am? Nope, Maya said flatly. And I don't care. For the first time, the man's expression changed. Just a flicker of surprise. Like he'd been slapped and didn't know how to react. My name is Adrian Volkov, he said slowly, like the name should mean something. Maya shrugged. Nice to meet you, Adrian. I'm Maya. And like I said, I don't take walk-ins. You can call tomorrow and make an appointment like everyone else. Adrian's jaw tightened. I don't wait. Well, tonight you do, Maya shot back. I've got 3 cars ahead of you, and I'm not bumping someone just because you think you're special. The blonde man behind Adrian stepped forward. Watch your mouth, girl. You're talking to. I'm talking to a guy whose car broke down in the rain, Maya interrupted, her voice sharp. And unless he wants to stand here all night, he can wait his turn or leave. Adrian held up his hand again, and the blonde man stepped back, scowling. Adrian studied Maya for a long moment. His cold blue eyes didn't blink. Most people looked away when he stared at them like that. But Maya didn't. She stared right back. Finally, Adrian spoke. How much do you want? Maya frowned. What? How much do you want to move me to the front of the line? Adrian said. Name your price. Maya let out a short laugh. You think I'm gonna take a bribe? I'm not that kind of mechanic. Everyone has a price, Adrian said coolly. Yeah, well, mine's not for sale, Maya said. She turned and walked back into the shop. You can leave your car here and come back tomorrow. Or you can take it somewhere else. Your choice. Adrian didn't move. He just stood there in the rain, staring at her retreating back like he couldn't believe what just happened. The short man with the scar leaned in and whispered, Boss, you want me to? No, Adrian said quietly. Leave her. The blonde man looked confused. But boss, she just. I said leave her, Adrian repeated, his voice like ice. The two men exchanged a glance but didn't argue. Adrian took one last look at the shop, his cold blue eyes narrowing slightly. Then he turned and walked back to the car. We'll push it to the side, Adrian said. And we'll be back tomorrow. The two men started pushing the Maserati to the curb. Adrian stood under the awning of a nearby building, watching the shop through the rain. Inside, Maya went back to work on Mrs. Peterson's Honda. Her hands were still shaking, but this time it wasn't from the cold. It was from adrenaline. She didn't know who Adrian Volkov was. But she had a feeling she'd just made a very dangerous enemy. And yet, for some reason, she couldn't stop smiling. Adrian didn't answer. He just stared at her with those cold blue eyes. Then he pulled out his phone, typed something, and put it back in his pocket. Your car will be ready in an hour, Maya said, her voice flat. You can wait outside. Adrian looked like he wanted to say something. But he didn't. He just nodded and walked out. That night, Maya sat in the tiny apartment above the shop, staring at the stack of bills on the table. She didn't know what she was going to do. She didn't have the money. She didn't have anyone to ask for help. She was completely alone. Her phone buzzed. It was an email from her landlord. Subject: Rent paid in full. Maya's heart stopped. She opened the email with shaking hands. Ms. Clark, your rent has been paid in full for the next 6 months by an anonymous donor. You are no longer in arrears. Brennan Property Management. Maya read it 3 times. Then 4. Then 5. Anonymous donor. She knew exactly who it was. The next morning, Maya was fixing Adrian's Maserati when the blonde man from yesterday walked into the shop. He had the same cold expression, the same expensive suit. But this time, he looked nervous. Boss wants to see you, the man said. Tell your boss I'm busy, Maya said without looking up. It's not a request, the man said. Maya straightened up and glared at him. And I'm not one of his employees. So unless he wants to come here himself, the answer is no. The man's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone, spoke quietly into it, and then hung up. A few seconds later, a black SUV pulled up outside. Adrian stepped out. He walked into the shop, and the blonde man stepped aside immediately. Adrian looked at Maya. "We need to talk." "About what?" Maya asked. "About the men who are watching you," Adrian said. Maya frowned. "What are you talking about?" Adrian's expression was hard. "You're being followed. 3 different cars have been parked outside your shop for the past 2 days. My men noticed them." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "Why would anyone follow me?" "Because you talk to me," Adrian said quietly. "And in my world, that makes you a target." Maya's mouth went dry. What kind of world do you live in?" Adrian didn't answer. He just looked at her with those cold, unreadable eyes. And for the first time since she met him, Maya realized she might be in real danger. Maya didn't believe Adrian at first. Men watching her? Following her? It sounded like something out of a movie. But over the next few days, she started noticing things. A black sedan parked across the street that never moved. A man in a gray jacket who walked past her shop 3 times in 1 hour. Someone sitting in a coffee shop window, staring directly at her. Adrian wasn't lying. It made her skin crawl. She started locking the shop door even during the day. She stopped going out after dark. But she couldn't hide forever. She had bills to pay. Groceries to buy. A life to live. On Saturday afternoon, Maya decided she needed to get out. She'd been cooped up in the shop all week, and she was going crazy. So she walked to the town square in downtown Brampton, just a 10-minute walk from her shop. It was a busy place on weekends, full of families, street performers, and little market stalls selling everything from fresh bread to handmade jewelry. Maya loved it there. It reminded her of simpler times, when her dad used to take her to the market every Saturday morning. She stopped at a fruit stand and picked up a bag of apples. The vendor, an older Jamaican woman with kind eyes and a bright yellow head wrap, smiled at her. "How you doing, baby?" the woman asked. "I'm all right, Miss Claudette," Maya said, handing her a few bills. "Just needed some fresh air." "You work too hard, child," Miss Claudette said, shaking her head. "You need to rest sometime." Maya smiled. "I'll rest when I'm dead." Miss Claudette laughed, but there was worry in her eyes. "You be careful out here, you hear me? I've been seeing some strange men around lately. They don't look like they're from around here." Maya's smile faded. "I'll be careful." She took her apples and walked toward the center of the square, where a small crowd had gathered around a street musician playing guitar. The sun was shining, the air smelled like fresh coffee, and for a few minutes, Maya felt normal again. Then she heard a voice behind her. Well, what do we have here?" Maya turned around. A man stood a few feet away, smirking at her. He was tall and lean, with pale white skin and slicked-back auburn hair that gleamed in the sunlight. His eyes were a sharp green, like shards of glass. He wore a designer leather jacket over a white shirt, dark jeans, and boots that probably cost more than Maya's rent. He looked young, maybe late 20s, but there was something cold and cruel in his smile. 2 men flanked him on either side. One was bald with a thick neck and arms covered in tattoos. The other was thin with a shaved head and a scar running across his throat. Maya's stomach tightened. She didn't know who this man was, but she knew trouble when she saw it. "Do I know you?" Maya asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The man laughed. "No, but I know you." He stepped closer, and the crowd around them started to quiet down. People were watching now. "You're the little mechanic who thinks she's tough. The one who's been getting cozy with Adrian Volkov." Maya's blood ran cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't play dumb," the man said, his green eyes gleaming. "Adrian's been sniffing around your shop like a lost dog. It's pathetic, really. A man like him, wasting his time on someone like you." "Someone like me?" Maya repeated, her voice rising. "And who the hell are you?" The man grinned wider. "Dominic Kane. You've probably never heard of me, but trust me, sweetheart, I'm a big deal." "Good for you," Maya said, turning to walk away. Dominic grabbed her arm. His grip was tight, bruising. "I'm not done talking to you." Maya yanked her arm away. "Let go of me." "Or what?" Dominic said, stepping even closer. His breath smelled like cigarettes and mint. "You gonna call Adrian? You think he's gonna come save you?" The crowd was growing now. People had their phones out, recording. Maya could see the little red dots of camera lights pointing at her. I don't need anyone to save me, Maya said, her voice shaking with anger. Now get out of my face before I make you. Dominic laughed. A cruel, mocking laugh that made Maya's fists clench. You hear that, boys? She's gonna make me. He turned to the crowd. This is the girl Adrian Volkov is obsessed with. A poor little grease monkey who can't even afford to pay her rent. Maya's face burned. She felt every pair of eyes on her. Every phone recording. Every person judging. You don't know anything about me, Maya said quietly. I know enough, Dominic said. He circled her slowly, like a predator. I know your daddy ran off and left you with nothing. I know you're barely scraping by in that sad little shop. I know you're nothing. And Adrian Volkov? He's wasting his time. Maya's hands were shaking. Not from fear. From rage. You done? She asked. Dominic raised an eyebrow. What? I said, are you done? Maya repeated, louder this time. Because I've got better things to do than stand here listening to some spoiled rich boy try to make himself feel important by tearing down a woman he doesn't even know. The crowd murmured. A few people laughed. Dominic's smile faded. You've got a mouth on you, Dominic said, his voice low and dangerous. And you've got an ego the size of Canada, Maya shot back. What's your point? Dominic's jaw tightened. He stepped forward, and for a second, Maya thought he might actually hit her. But then a voice cut through the tension like a knife. Touch her, and you're dead. Everyone turned. Adrian Volkov stood at the edge of the crowd, his cold blue eyes locked on Dominic. He wore his usual black suit, but this time there was something different about him. Something deadly. Behind him were 4 men in dark suits, all of them watching Dominic like wolves ready to pounce. Dominic's smirk returned, but it didn't reach his eyes. Adrian. How nice of you to join us. Step away from her, Adrian said. His voice was calm, but there was murder in his eyes. Or what? Dominic said. You gonna start a war over some mechanic? Yes, Adrian said simply. The crowd went dead silent. Dominic stared at Adrian for a long moment. Then he laughed and stepped back, raising his hands in mock surrender. Relax, Adrian. I was just having a little fun. Fun's over, Adrian said. He walked forward and stood between Maya and Dominic, his body a wall of protection. Leave. Now. Dominic's green eyes flicked to Maya one last time. Then he smiled. See you around, sweetheart. He turned and walked away, his 2 men following close behind. The crowd slowly started to disperse, but the phones were still out. People were still recording. Adrian turned to Maya. Are you all right? Maya looked up at him, her chest heaving with anger and adrenaline. Am I all right? Are you serious right now? Adrian frowned. What? Why are 2 mafia men obsessed with bullying a poor girl? Maya shouted. Her voice echoed across the square. What did I do? I fixed your car. That's it. And now I've got people following me, threatening me, humiliating me in public. Why? Adrian opened his mouth, but Maya didn't let him speak. I didn't ask for any of this, she continued, her voice breaking. I just wanted to run my shop and live my life. But now I've got your enemies coming after me, and I don't even know why. So tell me, Adrian. Tell me why I'm in the middle of your stupid mafia war. Adrian didn't answer. He just stared at her, his cold blue eyes unreadable. That's what I thought, Maya said bitterly. She turned and walked away, leaving Adrian standing in the middle of the square. And all around them, people kept recording. By that night, the video was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. Mafia boss fights rival over mechanic girl in public. Adrian Volkov threatens war over mystery woman. Who is Maya Clark? The girl who has 2 mafia heirs fighting. Adrian sat in his penthouse office, watching the video on his phone for the 10th time. His jaw was tight. His knuckles were white. His right-hand man, a tall black man with short-cropped hair, a neatly trimmed beard, and dark brown eyes, stood by the window. His name was Marcus, and he'd been with Adrian for 15 years. He wore a dark grey suit and had a calm, steady presence that balanced Adrian's intensity. Your reputation's taking a hit, boss, Marcus said quietly. People are talking. Saying you've gone soft. Saying you're distracted. I don't care, Adrian said, his voice cold. You should, Marcus said. Dominic's playing you. He knows you're interested in the girl, and he's using it against you. Adrian's eyes flicked to Marcus. And what do you suggest I do? Marcus hesitated. Then he said, walk away. Before this gets worse. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the city lights. I can't, he said quietly. Why not? Marcus asked. Adrian didn't answer. Because he didn't know. He didn't know why he cared. He didn't know why he couldn't stop thinking about her. He didn't know why the thought of Dominic touching her made him want to burn the world down. All he knew was that he wasn't walking away. Not now. Not ever. Meanwhile, in a dark warehouse across town, Dominic Kane sat in a leather chair, watching the same video on his phone. He was smiling. Boss, one of his men said. We found something. Dominic looked up. What? The man handed him a photograph. It was old and faded, but the image was clear. A red Chevy. And standing next to it, a man with dark skin and a warm smile. Dominic's smile grew wider. Well, he said softly. Looks like Maya Clark's father wasn't just a mechanic after all. Maya couldn't sleep. Again. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying everything that had happened in the town square. The humiliation. The cameras. Adrian standing between her and Dominic like some kind of protector. But protector from what? From a mess he created? She threw off the blanket and got up. It was 2 a.m, but she knew she wouldn't fall asleep anytime soon. So she did what she always did when her mind was racing. She went down to the shop. The old red Chevy sat in the corner, covered in its usual layer of dust. Maya stood in front of it, arms crossed, just staring. Her father's car. The last thing he left behind before he vanished 5 years ago. She tried to fix it 100 times over the years. But something always stopped her. Maybe because finishing it meant accepting he was really gone. That he wasn't coming back to help her the way he promised. But tonight, something was different. Tonight, Maya was angry. Angry at Adrian. Angry at Dominic. Angry at the whole stupid Mafia world that dragged her into their mess. And she needed answers. She grabbed her toolbox and walked over to the Chevy. All right, Dad, she muttered. Let's see what you were hiding. She popped the hood and looked inside. The engine was old, worn out, covered in grease and rust. She'd been through it dozens of times before, but tonight she was going deeper. She wanted to know why her father spent so much time on this car. Why he never finished it. Why he left it behind. Maya worked for hours, taking apart pieces she'd never touched before. The carburetor. The fuel pump. The cylinder heads. And then, just as the sun started to rise outside, she found it. A metal compartment. Hidden deep inside the engine block, welded into place where no one would ever think to look. Maya's heart started pounding. She grabbed a wrench and pried it open. Inside was a small waterproof bag. Her hands were shaking as she pulled it out and unzipped it. 3 things fell onto the workbench. A notebook. Small, leather-bound, filled with handwritten notes and numbers that didn't make any sense. Codes, maybe. Or coordinates. A keycard. Plain white, with a black magnetic strip and a single number printed on it, 7. And a metal pin. About the size of a quarter, silver, with an engraved symbol on it. A symbol Maya had seen before. On Adrian Volkov's cufflinks. It was a wolf's head, sharp and angular, with 2 crossed swords behind it. Maya's stomach dropped. She picked up the pin with trembling fingers and stared at it. Why did her father have this? Why was it hidden in his car? What did it mean? She flipped through the notebook, scanning the pages. Most of it was coded, but a few words stood out. Names. Dates. Locations. And one phrase, written over and over again in her father's handwriting. Protect her. No matter what. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Protect who? Her. She grabbed her phone and took pictures of everything. The notebook. The keycard. The pin. Then she shoved them all back into the bag and hid it under the workbench. She needed answers. And there was only one person who could give them to her. Adrian was in the middle of a meeting when his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and saw Maya's name. He stood up immediately, ignoring the confused looks from the other men in the room. "We're done here," Adrian said coldly. "Get out." The men exchanged glances but didn't argue. They grabbed their papers and left. Adrian answered the phone. "Maya." "We need to talk," Maya said. Her voice was tight, controlled. "Now." "Where are you?" Adrian asked. "My shop. Come alone." The line went dead. Adrian stared at his phone for a moment. Then he grabbed his coat and walked out. When Adrian arrived at the shop, Maya was sitting on the hood of the old Chevy, arms crossed, jaw tight. She looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes. Grease smudged on her cheek. But her gaze was sharp as a knife. Adrian stepped inside and closed the door behind him. "What's wrong?" Maya hopped off the hood and walked over to the workbench. She pulled out the waterproof bag and dumped the contents onto the table. The notebook. The keycard. The pin. Adrian's face went pale. He stared at the items like they were ghosts. "Where did you get these?" His voice was barely a whisper. "From my father's car," Maya said. "The one you asked me about. The one I told you to mind your business about." Adrian picked up the pin with shaking hands. He turned it over slowly, his cold blue eyes wide with shock. "This belonged to one of my men," Adrian said quietly. "A man who disappeared 5 years ago." Maya's breath caught. What was his name? Adrian looked up at her. "Daniel Clark." The room spun. Maya grabbed the edge of the workbench to steady herself. "That's my father." Adrian's face went from pale to white. He looked at Maya like he was seeing her for the first time. "Your father worked for me." "I don't know." Maya shouted. Tears were streaming down her face now. "I don't know anything. He just disappeared one day and never came back. He didn't tell me where he was going. He didn't tell me why. He just left me alone with this stupid car and a shop I didn't know how to run." Adrian set the pin down carefully. He ran a hand through his hair, his composure cracking. "Daniel Clark was one of my best men. He handled sensitive operations. Things that required trust. Loyalty. He was like a brother to me." "Then why did he leave?" Maya asked, her voice breaking. "Why did he abandon me?" "I don't know," Adrian said. "One day he just vanished. No warning. No explanation. I searched for him for months. I thought he was dead." Maya wiped her eyes. "What was he involved in?" Adrian hesitated. Then he said, "Things I can't tell you." "Don't give me that," Maya snapped. "You owe me the truth. What was my father doing for you?" Adrian's jaw tightened. He was protecting something. Something valuable. Something dangerous. "What?" Maya demanded. "I don't know," Adrian admitted. "He never told me. He said it was safer that way. And then he disappeared, and whatever he was protecting disappeared with him." Maya looked at the notebook. "Do you think this is it? Do you think this is what he was protecting?" "Maybe," Adrian said. He picked up the notebook and flipped through it carefully. His expression darkened with every page. "These are codes. Locations. Names. If this information fell into the wrong hands." "What?" Maya pressed. Adrian looked at her. "People would kill for this." Maya's blood ran cold. "So what do I do?" "You give it to me," Adrian said. "And you forget you ever found it." "No," Maya said immediately. Adrian frowned. "Maya." "No," Maya repeated. "This belonged to my father. It's the only thing I have left of him. I'm not giving it up." "It's not safe," Adrian said. "If Dominic finds out you have this." "Then protect me," Maya said, stepping closer to him. "You said you would. So do it." Adrian stared at her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Adrian pulled out his phone and made a call. "Marcus," he said. "I need a full surveillance team around the mechanic's shop. 24/7. No one gets in or out without me knowing." "Boss, are you sure?" Marcus started. "Do it," Adrian said, and hung up. He looked at Maya. "You're under my protection now. Whether you like it or not." For my protection? Maya asked, raising an eyebrow. Or because you want to keep an eye on me? Adrian didn't answer. He just picked up the notebook and the keycard and slipped them into his coat pocket. Hey. Maya protested. I said I wasn't giving those to you. I'm borrowing them, Adrian said. I need to figure out what your father was protecting. And I can't do that if you're holding on to evidence that could get you killed. And the pin? Maya asked. Adrian looked at it for a long moment. Then he handed it to her. Keep it. It belonged to your father. It should stay with you. Maya took the pin and clutched it tightly in her hand. If you find out what happened to him, promise me you'll tell me. Adrian met her eyes. I promise. He turned to leave, but Maya called after him. Adrian. He stopped and looked back. Why did you pay my rent? She asked quietly. Adrian's expression softened, just a little. Because I don't like seeing people struggle when I can help. That's not the whole truth, Maya said. Adrian was quiet. Then he said, no. It's not. And with that, he walked out into the morning light. Adrian was in his office reviewing documents when Marcus burst through the door without knocking. His face was tight with panic. Boss, we have a problem. Adrian looked up, immediately alert. What is it? Maya's been taken, Marcus said. 3 men grabbed her outside her shop 15 minutes ago. We got it on camera. Adrian's blood turned to ice. He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. Where? We're tracking the van now, Marcus said, pulling up a tablet. A red dot blinked on a map, moving away from the city center. They're heading toward the industrial district. Dominic, Adrian said, his voice deadly quiet. Most likely, Marcus confirmed. What do you want us to do? Adrian grabbed his coat and pulled a gun from his desk drawer. Get every man we have. I want that warehouse surrounded in 10 minutes. Boss, if we go in guns blazing, we could start a war. I don't care, Adrian snapped. His cold blue eyes were blazing with something Marcus had never seen before. Rage. Pure, uncontrolled rage. If he touches her, I'll burn his entire organization to the ground. Marcus had worked for Adrian for 15 years. He'd seen him angry before. Ruthless. Cold. But he'd never seen him like this. Never seen him lose control. Let's move, Adrian said, already heading for the door. Maya's head was pounding. They'd taken the bag off her face, but her hands were zip-tied behind her back. She was sitting in a cold metal chair in what looked like an abandoned warehouse. Rusted equipment. Broken windows. The smell of oil and decay. Dominic Kane stood in front of her, arms crossed, that same cruel smile on his face. His green eyes gleamed in the dim light. Hello again, Maya, Dominic said cheerfully. Sorry about the rough treatment. My boys can be a little enthusiastic. Let me go, Maya said. Her voice didn't shake. She refused to let him see her fear. I will, Dominic said. As soon as you tell me what I want to know. I don't know anything, Maya said. Dominic crouched down in front of her so they were eye to eye. Your father, Daniel Clark, stole something very valuable from my family 5 years ago. And then he vanished. Now you show up with his car, his shop, and Adrian Volkov protecting you like you're made of gold. He tilted his head. So I'm going to ask you one more time. What did your father leave you? Nothing, Maya said. He left me nothing but debt and a broken-down car. Dominic's smile faded. You're lying. I'm not, Maya insisted. I don't know what my father was involved in. I didn't even know he worked for Adrian until 3 days ago. Dominic stood up and walked in a slow circle around her. You know what I think? I think your daddy hid something. Something important. And I think you found it. Maya's heart was racing, but she kept her face blank. You're wrong. Am I? Dominic stopped behind her and leaned down close to her ear. Because Adrian's been very interested in you lately. And Adrian doesn't waste time on nobodies. So either you're sitting on a fortune, or... He paused. Or he actually cares about you. Which would be even more valuable. Before Maya could respond, the sound of screeching tires echoed outside. Then shouting. Gunshots. Dominic's smile returned. Ah. Right on schedule. Adrian didn't bother with a plan. He didn't bother with strategy. He walked straight through the warehouse doors with 20 armed men behind him. Dominic's guards opened fire immediately. Adrian didn't even flinch. His men returned fire, and bodies started dropping. Adrian walked through the chaos like a ghost, his gun raised, his face a mask of cold fury. Anyone who got in his way went down. He didn't hesitate. Didn't stop. Didn't care. Marcus was right behind him, shouting orders, coordinating the team. But Adrian wasn't listening. He only had one goal. Get to Maya. He found her in a back room, still tied to the chair. Dominic was gone, slipped away in the chaos like the coward he was. But Maya was alive. Bruised, shaking, but alive. Adrian holstered his gun and crossed the room in 3 long strides. He pulled out a knife and cut the zip ties from her wrists. Maya gasped and rubbed her sore wrists, staring up at him with wide eyes. Are you hurt? Adrian asked, his voice rough. I'm fine, Maya said. But her voice cracked, and tears started streaming down her face. Adrian pulled her into his arms before he could stop himself. She buried her face in his chest and sobbed, her whole body shaking. Adrian held her tightly, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other wrapped around her waist. It's over, he murmured. You're safe now. For a moment, Maya let herself break. Let herself be held. Let herself feel safe. But then reality came crashing back. She pushed away from Adrian, her eyes red and angry. You knew, she said. Adrian frowned. What? You knew my father worked for you, Maya said, her voice rising. You knew he disappeared. You knew he was involved in something dangerous. And you didn't tell me. Maya. Don't Maya me, she shouted. You lied to my face. You acted like you didn't know him, like you didn't know anything, and all this time you knew exactly who he was. I didn't know he was your father, Adrian said firmly. Not until you showed me that pin. But you knew Daniel Clark disappeared. Maya shot back. You knew he was protecting something. And instead of telling me the truth, you kept me in the dark while people like Dominic came after me. Adrian's jaw tightened. I was trying to protect you. By lying to me. Maya's voice broke. My father is gone, Adrian. He's been gone for 5 years, and I don't know if he's dead or alive or hiding or, she choked on a sob. And you could have told me the truth. You could have helped me understand. But you didn't. You kept secrets. Just like everyone else in my life. Adrian reached for her, but Maya stepped back. Don't touch me. Maya, please. You're a liar, Maya said, her voice cold and clear. Just like him. Just like my father. Just like everyone. The words hit Adrian like a bullet. No one had ever spoken to him like that. No one had ever dared call him a liar to his face. But Maya did. And it hurt more than he expected. Get me out of here, Maya said quietly. I want to go home. Adrian nodded stiffly. Marcus will take you. No, Maya said. You will. You owe me that much. Adrian met her eyes. Then he nodded. Let's go. The drive back was silent. Maya stared out the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. Adrian gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. When they pulled up to her shop, Maya got out without a word. But before she closed the door, she turned back to him. If you want to make this right, she said quietly, find out what happened to my father. Find out the truth. All of it. I will, Adrian promised. Maya nodded. Then she walked inside and locked the door behind her. Adrian sat in the car for a long time, staring at the shop. Then he pulled out his phone and called Marcus. I need everything you can find on Daniel Clark's disappearance, Adrian said. Every file. Every report. Every lead we buried. I want the truth. Boss, what if the truth is something we don't want to find? Marcus asked carefully. Adrian's voice was ice. Then we deal with it. He hung up and drove back to his office. But the whole way, he couldn't stop thinking about Maya's words. You're a liar. Just like everyone else. No one had ever made him feel shame before. But Maya Clark did. Later that night, Adrian sat in his office going through old files. Daniel Clark's personnel records. Mission reports. Surveillance logs. And then he found something that made his blood run cold. A transfer request. filed 3 days before Daniel disappeared. A request to move a large sum of money to an offshore account. It was signed by Daniel Clark. But underneath it was another signature. A signature Adrian recognized. Someone inside his own organization had approved it. Someone Daniel trusted. Someone who might have been involved in his disappearance. Adrian stared at the name, his mind racing. He had a traitor. Someone close to him. Someone who'd been hiding for 5 years. And now they knew Maya was asking questions. Adrian picked up his phone and called Marcus. "We have a problem. A big one." "What is it?" Marcus asked. "Someone on the inside helped Daniel disappear," Adrian said. "And they are still here." There was a long pause. Then Marcus said quietly, "Then we find them. Before they find Maya." Adrian hung up and looked out the window at the city lights. Somewhere out there, a traitor was hiding. And Maya was in more danger than ever. He'd promised to protect her. And he'd promised to find the truth. Adrian Volkov never broke his promises. Maya woke up in a bed that wasn't hers. The sheets were soft, expensive, the kind that probably cost more than her monthly rent. For a moment, she panicked. Then the memories came flooding back. The kidnapping. The warehouse. Adrian carrying her out after she collapsed from exhaustion. She sat up slowly, wincing at the bruises on her wrists. She was wearing clothes that weren't hers either. A simple grey t-shirt and black sweatpants. Someone had changed her while she was sleeping, and the thought made her face burn with embarrassment. The room was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Modern furniture. White walls. Everything cold and impersonal, like a luxury hotel room. Maya slid out of bed and walked to the door. She opened it carefully and found herself in a long hallway with marble floors and expensive artwork on the walls. This wasn't a house. It was a mansion. Adrian's mansion. She walked down the hallway, following the sound of voices. They led her to a massive living room with leather couches, a fireplace, and windows that showed a view of downtown Toronto stretching out like a blanket of lights. Adrian stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear. He was still wearing the same clothes from last night, his white shirt untucked, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly messy. He looked tired. Human. Marcus sat on one of the couches, typing on a laptop. He looked up when Maya entered and gave her a small nod. Adrian ended his call and turned around. His cold blue eyes softened just slightly when he saw her. "You're awake." "Why am I here?" Maya asked. "Because your shop isn't safe," Adrian said simply. "Neither is your apartment. You're staying here until we deal with Dominic." "I didn't agree to that," Maya said, crossing her arms. "You collapsed," Adrian said. "You were in shock. I wasn't going to leave you alone. So you brought me to your house without asking." Maya's voice rose. "You can't just make decisions for me, Adrian." "I can when your life is in danger," Adrian shot back. "Stop acting like you own me." Maya shouted. "I'm trying to keep you alive." Adrian shouted back. They glared at each other across the room. Marcus cleared his throat awkwardly. I'll go check on the perimeter." He grabbed his laptop and left quickly. Maya and Adrian stood there in tense silence. Finally, Maya sighed and sat down on the couch. "How long do I have to stay here?" "Until it's safe," Adrian said, walking over and sitting on the opposite couch. "A few days. Maybe a week." "I can't just leave my shop closed for a week," Maya protested. "I have customers. Bills. I'll lose everything." "I'll cover it," Adrian said. "I don't want your money," Maya said firmly. "It's not about what you want," Adrian said. "It's about keeping you alive." Maya wanted to argue, but she was too tired. She looked around the massive living room, taking in the expensive furniture, the art, the cold perfection of it all. "This place feels like a museum." Adrian glanced around like he was seeing it for the first time. "I don't spend much time here." "Where do you spend your time?" Maya asked. "Working," Adrian said. "That's sad," Maya said quietly. Adrian frowned. "What? You have all this," Maya gestured around the room. "This huge house, all this money, all this power. And you're still alone." Adrian's expression hardened. "I'm not alone. I have men who work for me." "That's not the same thing," Maya said. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city. My shop is tiny. My apartment is falling apart. I barely have enough money to eat most days. But at least I have people who care about me. Miss Claudette from the market. Mrs. Peterson and her broken Honda. The old man who comes in every Tuesday for an oil change and tells me stories about his grandkids. She turned to look at Adrian. You have all this, and you have nobody. Adrian didn't respond. He just stared at her with those cold blue eyes. I'm going back to bed, Maya said quietly. Just, tell me when it's safe to leave. She walked out of the room, leaving Adrian alone with her words echoing in his head. Over the next 3 days, Maya learned what it was like to live in Adrian's world. And it was lonelier than she expected. The mansion was beautiful but empty. Staff came and went silently, barely speaking. Adrian worked constantly, either on the phone or in his office, surrounded by papers and screens and an endless stream of problems that needed solving. Maya tried to stay out of his way. She read books from his massive library, watched movies in the home theater, swam in the indoor pool. But no matter what she did, she felt like a ghost haunting someone else's life. The only time she saw Adrian was at dinner. Marcus insisted they eat together, probably hoping it would ease the tension between them. It didn't. They argued about everything. You can't just keep me locked up here forever, Maya said on the third night, stabbing at her pasta. I'm not locking you up, Adrian said calmly. I'm protecting you. It's the same thing, Maya muttered. No, it's not, Adrian said. If I was locking you up, there'd be guards at your door. You're free to move around the house. Wow, so generous, Maya said sarcastically. I can walk around your mansion like a pet. Adrian set down his fork. Why are you so determined to fight me on everything? Why are you so determined to control everything? Maya shot back. They glared at each other across the table. But this time, something was different. The anger was still there, but underneath it was something else. Something neither of them wanted to acknowledge. Maya looked away first. I just want to go home. I know, Adrian said quietly. Soon. But soon kept getting pushed back. Because every day, Marcus came back with worse news. Dominic was looking for her. He'd sent men to her shop 3 times. He'd questioned her neighbors. He wasn't giving up. And somewhere inside Adrian's organization, a traitor was feeding Dominic information. On the 4th night, Maya couldn't sleep. She wandered through the mansion, eventually finding herself outside Adrian's office. The door was slightly open, and she could see him sitting at his desk, head in his hands, looking more exhausted than she'd ever seen him. Can't sleep either? Maya asked softly. Adrian looked up, startled. Then he nodded. Come in. Maya walked in and sat in one of the leather chairs across from his desk. The office was as cold and impersonal as the rest of the house. Dark wood. Expensive furniture. Nothing that said anything about who Adrian really was. Except for one thing. On the corner of his desk, half hidden under a stack of papers, was a small silver pendant. A wolf's head, just like the pin her father had hidden in his car. Maya's breath caught. She reached out slowly and picked it up. Where did you get this? Adrian's face went pale. Maya. Where did you get this? Maya repeated, her voice shaking. This belonged to my father. I watched him wear it every single day until he disappeared. Adrian closed his eyes. He left it behind. The day he vanished. I found it in his locker at one of our safe houses. And you kept it? Maya's voice broke. For 5 years, you kept my father's pendant, and you didn't think to tell me. I didn't know you existed, Adrian said quietly. Daniel never talked about his family. He said it was safer that way. Maya stood up, clutching the pendant so tightly it cut into her palm. What else are you hiding from me? Nothing, Adrian said, standing up as well. Liar, Maya said. Tears were streaming down her face now. You're still lying to me. I can see it in your eyes. Maya, please. Tell me the truth. Maya shouted. What happened to my father? Why did he disappear? What was he protecting? I don't know. Adrian shouted back. I've been trying to find out for 5 years. Daniel was my friend, my brother. When he vanished, it destroyed me. I searched everywhere. I questioned everyone. And I found nothing. Just that pendant and a bunch of questions I couldn't answer. They stood there, breathing hard, staring at each other. The air between them was electric, charged with anger and pain and something neither of them wanted to name. I miss him, Maya whispered. Every single day, I miss him. And I don't even know if he's alive or dead or if he abandoned me on purpose. Adrian's expression softened. He walked around the desk slowly, stopping just a few feet away from her. He didn't abandon you. How do you know? Maya asked. Because the last thing he said to me before he disappeared was protect her, Adrian said quietly. I didn't know who he meant at the time. But now I do. He was talking about you. Maya's breath hitched. He said that. Adrian nodded. Your father loved you, Maya. Whatever he did, whatever he was protecting, he did it for you. Maya broke. She covered her face with her hands and sobbed. Adrian stood there for a moment, uncertain. Then he stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. This time, Maya didn't push him away. She buried her face in his chest and cried, and Adrian held her tightly, one hand stroking her hair, the other wrapped around her waist. I'm sorry, Adrian murmured. I'm sorry I didn't tell you everything. I'm sorry I kept secrets. I was trying to protect you, but I see now that I only hurt you more. Maya pulled back slightly, looking up at him with red, swollen eyes. Promise me you'll stop lying. Promise me you'll tell me the truth from now on, even if it hurts. Adrian looked down at her, his cold blue eyes filled with something warm and vulnerable. I promise. They stood there, inches apart, neither of them moving. Maya's heart was pounding. Adrian's hand was still tangled in her hair. The tension between them shifted, turning into something dangerous and undeniable. Maya's eyes dropped to Adrian's lips. Adrian's breath caught. And then a phone rang, shattering the moment. Adrian pulled away, grabbing his phone off the desk. What? Marcus's voice came through, tight with panic. Boss, we have a problem. It's Victor. Victor was Adrian's most trusted lieutenant. A man who'd been with him for over a decade. One of the few people Adrian actually trusted. What about him? Adrian asked. He's gone, Marcus said. Vanished. We found his car abandoned near the docks. No signs of struggle. No blood. It's like he just disappeared. Adrian's face went cold. Find him. Now. Boss, what if he's the traitor? Marcus asked carefully. Adrian was silent for a long moment. Then he said, then we have a bigger problem than Dominic. He hung up and looked at Maya. His vulnerable expression was gone, replaced by the cold mask he always wore. I have to go, Adrian said. What's wrong? Maya asked. Nothing you need to worry about, Adrian said, already heading for the door. Adrian, don't shut me out. Stay in the house, Adrian said firmly. Don't leave. Don't answer the door. Don't trust anyone except Marcus. And then he was gone, leaving Maya alone in his empty office, clutching her father's pendant and wondering what new danger was coming for them both. Maya didn't sleep that night. She sat in the guest room with her father's pendant in one hand and her phone in the other, staring at the pictures she'd taken of his coded notebook. The numbers and symbols that made no sense. The names she didn't recognize. The dates that meant nothing. But now, with the pendant in her hand and Adrian's words echoing in her mind, she looked at the notebook differently. She zoomed in on one page. A list of names with check marks next to them. And at the bottom, one name circled over and over again. Victor Petrov. Maya's blood ran cold. Victor. The lieutenant who just disappeared. The man Adrian trusted more than anyone. Her hands shaking, Maya scrolled through more pictures. Another page. More names. More dates. And then she saw it. A phrase written in her father's handwriting at the top of the page. The wolf protects the pack, but who protects the wolf from his own? Maya stared at those words for a long time. Then she grabbed her father's pendant and ran downstairs. Adrian's office was empty. So was the living room. Maya found Marcus in the kitchen, drinking coffee and looking at his laptop with tired eyes. Where's Adrian? Maya asked. Marcus looked up. He's following a lead on Victor. He'll be back in a few hours. But this time, Maya didn't feel helpless. She looked down at her father's pendant in her hand and whispered, I'm getting closer, Dad. I'm going to find out what happened to you. I promise. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance. A storm was coming. And Maya had a feeling the truth would be more dangerous than anything she'd faced so far. The call came at 3 in the morning. Adrian's phone lit up the dark bedroom, and he answered it before the second ring. We found him, Marcus said. His voice was tight. Victor's at the old shipping yard. South side. He's alone. I'm on my way, Adrian said, already getting out of bed. He pulled on his clothes quickly and grabbed his gun. When he opened the door, Maya was standing in the hallway, wrapped in one of his shirts, her eyes wide with worry. You found Victor? She asked. Adrian nodded. Stay here. Lock the doors. Don't let anyone in. I'm coming with you, Maya said. No, Adrian said firmly. Adrian, this is about my father, Maya insisted. I have a right to be there. It's too dangerous, Adrian said. I don't care, Maya shot back. You're not leaving me behind. Not this time. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Adrian sighed. Fine. But you stay in the car. No arguments. Maya nodded. No arguments. The shipping yard was dark and quiet, lit only by a few flickering streetlights. Shipping containers were stacked high like metal walls, creating a maze of shadows and hiding spots. Adrian's men were already positioned around the perimeter, hidden but ready. Adrian parked the car at the entrance. He turned to Maya. Stay here. Lock the doors. If anything goes wrong, you drive away. Understand? Maya nodded, but her hands were shaking. Adrian reached over and squeezed her hand gently. I'll come back. You better, Maya said quietly. Adrian got out of the car and walked into the shipping yard, Marcus at his side. 4 more men followed close behind, all of them armed and alert. They found Victor standing in the center of the yard, between 2 tall stacks of containers. He was alone, hands in his pockets, looking completely calm. He was a tall man with pale white skin, short blonde hair going gray at the temples, and sharp gray eyes that had always been steady and trustworthy. He wore a simple black jacket and jeans. He looked like the same Victor Adrian had known for over a decade. But everything was different now. Victor, Adrian said, his voice cold as ice. Victor smiled. It was a sad smile. I wondered when you'd figure it out. Why? Adrian asked. The single word was filled with pain. Victor sighed and pulled his hands from his pockets. No weapon. Just empty hands. Because you were supposed to die, Adrian. Not your father. You. Adrian's blood turned to ice. What are you talking about? The car accident that killed your father 15 years ago, Victor said. It wasn't an accident. It was meant for you. But your father took your car that day. Remember? You were supposed to drive to that meeting. But your father went instead. Adrian's face went white. You killed my father. Not me personally, Victor said. But I arranged it. I was following orders. Whose orders? Adrian demanded. Your Uncle Anton, Victor said simply. He wanted control of the organization. You were the heir, the obstacle. So he paid me to take you out. But when your father died instead, everything changed. You became the boss. And Anton realized he'd made a mistake. Marcus raised his gun, but Adrian held up his hand. Keep talking. I stayed close to you, Victor continued. Watched you. Waited for another opportunity. But then Daniel Clark showed up and started training you. Making you strong. Making you smart. And suddenly, killing you became complicated. Daniel knew, Adrian said quietly. He figured out you were the traitor. Victor nodded. Smart man. Too smart for his own good. He came to me 5 years ago with evidence. Recordings. Bank statements. Everything. He said he was going to expose me unless I turned myself in. So you killed him, Adrian said, his voice shaking with rage. No, Victor said. I didn't. Adrian's gun was in his hand now, pointed directly at Victor's chest. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying, Victor said calmly. Daniel Clark is alive. The words hit Adrian like a bullet. Behind him, Marcus gasped. And somewhere in the darkness, Maya heard everything through the open car window. What? Adrian's voice cracked. He's alive, Victor repeated. I couldn't kill him. He was too valuable. So I made a deal with Dominic Kane. We staged his disappearance. Made it look like he ran away. And for the past 5 years, Dominic's been holding him in a private facility in Northern Ontario. Adrian's gun hand was shaking. Why? Because Daniel knew things, Victor said. Secret routes. Hidden accounts. Names of every person in your organization. Dominic wanted that information. So we kept Daniel alive. Fed him. Kept him comfortable. And slowly, over 5 years, we broke him down until he told us everything we needed to know. You're lying, Adrian said. But his voice had no strength behind it. I'm not, Victor said. And here's the best part. All this time, you've been looking for Daniel. Searching everywhere. Tearing yourself apart with guilt. And I was right beside you. Helping you search. Feeding you false leads. Keeping you distracted while Dominic tore your organization apart from the inside. Adrian's finger tightened on the trigger. Give me one reason I shouldn't kill you right now. Because if you kill me, you'll never find Daniel, Victor said. Only I know where he is. Only I have the access codes. Kill me, and Daniel dies too. Adrian's hand dropped slightly. Where is he? Victor smiled. Let me walk away, and I'll tell you. Not a chance, Marcus said, stepping forward with his own gun raised. Then Daniel dies, Victor said simply. Your choice, Adrian. Kill me and lose your mentor forever. Or let me go and get him back. Adrian stood there, frozen. Every muscle in his body screamed at him to pull the trigger. To make Victor pay for everything he'd done. But if there was even a chance Daniel was alive. Boss, Marcus said quietly. Don't listen to him. He's playing you. Am I? Victor asked. He pulled out his phone and held it up. On the screen was a photo. An old man with dark brown skin and graying hair, sitting in a small room with white walls. He looked thin. Tired. But alive. Daniel Clark was alive. He wore a simple black jacket and jeans. He looked like the same Victor Adrian had known for over a decade. But everything was different now. Victor, Adrian said, his voice cold as ice. Victor smiled. It was a sad smile. I wondered when you'd figure it out. Why? Adrian asked. The single word was filled with pain. Victor sighed and pulled his hands from his pockets. No weapon. Just empty hands. Because you were supposed to die, Adrian. Not your father. You. Adrian's blood turned to ice. What are you talking about? The car accident that killed your father 15 years ago, Victor said. It wasn't an accident. It was meant for you. But your father took your car that day. Remember? You were supposed to drive to that meeting. But your father went instead. Adrian's face went white. You killed my father. Not me personally, Victor said. But I arranged it. I was following orders. Whose orders? Adrian demanded. Your uncle Anton, Victor said simply. He wanted control of the organization. You were the heir, the obstacle. So he paid me to take you out. But when your father died instead, everything changed. You became the boss. And Anton realized he'd made a mistake. Marcus raised his gun, but Adrian held up his hand. Keep talking. I stayed close to you, Victor continued. Watched you. Waited for another opportunity. But then Daniel Clark showed up and started training you. Making you strong. Making you smart. And suddenly, killing you became complicated. Daniel knew, Adrian said quietly. He figured out you were the traitor. Victor nodded. Smart man. Too smart for his own good. He came to me 5 years ago with evidence. Recordings. Bank statements. Everything. He said he was going to expose me unless I turned myself in. So you killed him, Adrian said, his voice shaking with rage. No, Victor said. I didn't. Adrian's gun was in his hand now, pointed directly at Victor's chest. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying, Victor said calmly. Daniel Clark is alive. The words hit Adrian like a bullet. Behind him, Marcus gasped. And somewhere in the darkness, Maya heard everything through the open car window. What? Adrian's voice cracked. He's alive, Victor repeated. I couldn't kill him. He was too valuable. So I made a deal with Dominic Kane. We staged his disappearance. Made it look like he ran away. And for the past 5 years, Dominic's been holding him in a private facility in Northern Ontario. Adrian's gun hand was shaking. Why? Because Daniel knew things, Victor said. Secret routes. Hidden accounts. Names of every person in your organization. Dominic wanted that information. So we kept Daniel alive. Fed him. Kept him comfortable. And slowly, over 5 years, we broke him down until he told us everything we needed to know. You're lying, Adrian said. But his voice had no strength behind it. I'm not, Victor said. And here's the best part. All this time, you've been looking for Daniel. Searching everywhere. Tearing yourself apart with guilt. And I was right beside you. Helping you search. Feeding you false leads. Keeping you distracted while Dominic tore your organization apart from the inside. Adrian's finger tightened on the trigger. Give me one reason I shouldn't kill you right now. Because if you kill me, you'll never find Daniel, Victor said. Only I know where he is. Only I have the access codes. Kill me, and Daniel dies too. Adrian's hand dropped slightly. Where is he? Victor smiled. Let me walk away, and I'll tell you. Not a chance, Marcus said, stepping forward with his own gun raised. Then Daniel dies, Victor said simply. Your choice, Adrian. Kill me and lose your mentor forever. Or let me go and get him back. Adrian stood there, frozen. Every muscle in his body screamed at him to pull the trigger. To make Victor pay for everything he'd done. But if there was even a chance Daniel was alive. Boss, Marcus said quietly. Don't listen to him. He's playing you. Am I? Victor asked. He pulled out his phone and held it up. On the screen was a photo. An old man with dark brown skin and graying hair, sitting in a small room with white walls. He looked thin. Tired. But alive. Daniel Clark was alive. Adrian's gun dropped completely. His knees almost gave out. Daniel, he whispered. Maya couldn't take it anymore. She threw open the car door and ran toward them. Where is my father? Where is he? Maya, get back in the car. Adrian shouted. But Maya didn't listen. She ran straight up to Victor, tears streaming down her face. Please. Tell me where he is. Please. Victor looked at her with something like pity in his gray eyes. You look just like him. Same eyes. Same fire. Please, Maya begged. He's all I have left. Victor was quiet for a moment. Then he said, he talked about you, you know. Every single day. He said you were the reason he stayed alive. The reason he didn't give up. Maya's sobs broke the night air. Adrian moved forward and pulled her back against him, holding her while she cried. I'll make you a deal, Victor said. I'll give you the location. But you let me walk away. Tonight. No chase. No hunting me down. I disappear, and you get Daniel back. And if we refuse? Marcus asked. Victor pulled something from his jacket. A small remote with a single red button. Then the facility where Daniel is being kept explodes. And everyone inside dies. Adrian's face went hard. You're bluffing. Try me, Victor said. Adrian stared at him. This man he'd trusted. This man he'd called brother. This man who'd been poisoning his life for 15 years. Fine, Adrian said quietly. You walk. But if you're lying about Daniel. I'm not, Victor said. He tossed his phone to Adrian. The coordinates are in the notes app. The access code is Daniel's birthday. You have 48 hours before Dominic moves him. Victor started walking backward, his hands still visible, no sudden movements. I'm sorry, Adrian. For what it's worth, I did respect you. You were a better man than your father ever was. But business is business. Victor, Adrian called out. Victor stopped and turned. If we ever meet again, Adrian said, his voice deadly calm, I will kill you. Victor smiled sadly. I know. And then he disappeared into the shadows between the containers. Marcus moved to chase him, but Adrian held up his hand. Let him go. Boss. We have more important things to do, Adrian said, looking down at the phone. We have to find Daniel. Maya grabbed Adrian's arm. Is it real? Is my father really alive? Adrian looked at the photo again. Then he nodded. I think so. Maya's legs gave out, and she collapsed. Adrian caught her before she hit the ground, holding her while she sobbed with relief and shock and overwhelming emotion. He's alive, Maya kept whispering. He's alive. He's alive. Adrian held her tightly, his own eyes burning with tears he refused to let fall. Daniel was alive. After 5 years of searching. 5 years of guilt. 5 years of believing he'd failed the man who saved him. Daniel was alive. They were halfway back to the mansion when Marcus got the call. His face went pale as he listened. Then he turned to Adrian. Boss, there's been a fire. Where? Adrian asked. Marcus looked at Maya in the rearview mirror. The mechanic shop. Maya's heart stopped. What? Someone set it on fire, Marcus said. The whole building is burning. Fire department's there now, but... No, Maya whispered. No, no, no. She pulled out her phone and called Miss Claudette, her neighbor from the market. The woman answered on the 3rd ring, her voice shaking. Maya, baby, where are you? What happened? Maya asked, her voice breaking. Your shop, child, Miss Claudette said, crying. It's gone. The whole building went up like it was soaked in gasoline. The firefighters said it was arson. Someone wanted it to burn. Maya dropped the phone. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Her shop. Her father's shop. The only thing she had left of him. Gone. Turn the car around, Maya said quietly. Maya, Adrian started. Turn the car around. Maya screamed. I need to see it. I need to see what they did. Adrian nodded to Marcus, who turned the car around. When they arrived at the shop, Maya's worst fears were confirmed. The building was a skeleton of blackened beams and crumbling walls. Smoke still rose from the ruins. Fire trucks surrounded the area, spraying water on the last of the flames. And in the corner, barely visible through the smoke and destruction, was the burnt-out shell of her father's red Chevy. Maya got out of the car and walked toward the ruins like she was in a trance. Adrian followed close behind, ready to catch her if she fell. Everything, Maya whispered. They took everything. Adrian put his hand on her shoulder. I'll rebuild it. I'll replace everything. You can't replace memories, Maya said, her voice hollow. You can't replace my father's tools. His handwriting on the calendar. The smell of oil and grease that reminded me of him every single day. She turned to Adrian, her eyes red and filled with pain. Victor did this, didn't he? One last message before he disappeared. Adrian's jaw tightened. Probably. Maya looked back at the ruins of her life. Then she straightened her shoulders and wiped her eyes. When she spoke again, her voice was hard as steel. Then let's go get my father. And when we do, we're going to make Victor pay for everything he's done. Adrian looked at her with something like pride in his cold blue eyes. Together. Together, Maya agreed. And standing there in front of the burning ruins of her past, Maya Clark made a decision. She wasn't going to be a victim anymore. She wasn't going to run or hide or cry. She was going to fight. And she was going to win. Adrian's men came out of nowhere. Bullets flew. Dominic's guards went down one by one. Maya grabbed her father and pulled him behind a concrete pillar as the gunfight erupted around them. Dominic dove behind cover, firing back, but he was outnumbered. Adrian's team had him surrounded. Within seconds, it was over. Dominic's men were either dead or disarmed. And Dominic himself was on his knees, hands behind his head, Marcus's gun pressed to the back of his skull. Maya stayed where she was, holding her father close, both of them breathing hard. Then Adrian appeared at the end of the hallway, and he wasn't alone. He was supporting a woman. She was thin and frail, with pale white skin and long dark hair streaked with gray. Her blue eyes, so much like Adrian's, were filled with tears. She wore the same gray jumpsuit Daniel wore. Adrian's mother. Adrian helped her sit down against the wall, then crossed to Maya and Daniel. Are you hurt? We're fine, Maya said, though her hands were still shaking. Adrian looked at Daniel, and for a moment, the cold Mafia boss disappeared. He was just a young man looking at his mentor, his father figure, with overwhelming relief. I thought I'd lost you forever. You almost did, Daniel said weakly. He reached up and gripped Adrian's shoulder. But you found me. Just like I knew you would. Adrian's eyes burned with tears, but he didn't let them fall. He nodded once, then stood and walked over to where Marcus held Dominic. Let him up, Adrian said quietly. Marcus hesitated. Boss. Let him up, Adrian repeated. Marcus stepped back. Dominic slowly got to his feet, rubbing his wrists. His green eyes were filled with hate. Go ahead. Kill me. That's what you do, right? Kill anyone who gets in your way. I should, Adrian said. After everything you've done. Everything you've taken from me. Then do it, Dominic spat. Pull the trigger. Prove you're just like your father. Just like your uncle. A monster. Adrian's gun stayed at his side. That's what you want, isn't it? For me to become the monster. To start a war that destroys half the city. To prove that violence is the only language we speak. It's the only language that matters, Dominic said. You're wrong, Adrian said. He turned and looked at Maya, still holding her father. At his mother, sitting against the wall, finally free after 15 years. At Marcus, loyal to the end. There are things more important than power. Than territory. Than revenge. He turned back to Dominic. You're finished. Your organization is done. Every contact you have, every ally, every safe house, I'm going to dismantle all of it. But I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to let you live. Let you watch as everything you built crumbles to dust. And then, when you have nothing left, you'll understand what you took from others. Dominic's face twisted with rage. You're weak. No, Adrian said. I'm finally strong enough to walk away. He nodded to Marcus. Take him to the authorities. Give them everything. Every crime. Every murder. Every betrayal. Let him rot in prison for the rest of his life. Marcus grabbed Dominic's arm and started dragging him away. But Dominic turned back, laughing bitterly. You think this is over? You think letting me live makes you better? You're still just a mafia boss, Adrian. And that girl you're protecting? She'll never truly be safe in your world. Neither will her father. You've doomed them both by dragging them into your life. Adrian's expression didn't change. Get him out of my sight. Marcus hauled Dominic away. The sound of sirens began to wail in the distance. Adrian had called the police before they'd even arrived, ensuring this ended publicly, legally. No more shadows. No more secrets. Adrian helped his mother stand. She was crying, one hand pressed to her mouth, staring at her son like she couldn't believe he was real. Adrian, she whispered. My boy. My beautiful boy. I'm here, Mom, Adrian said softly, pulling her into a gentle embrace. I'm here. You're safe now. She sobbed into his chest, 15 years of pain and fear pouring out all at once. Maya watched them, her own father leaning heavily against her. Daniel's hollow eyes were fixed on Adrian and his mother, and there was something in his expression. Relief. But also sadness. Dad, Maya said quietly. What is it? What aren't you telling me? Daniel looked at his daughter. Then he sighed. Help me sit down, baby. There's something you need to know. Something everyone needs to know. Adrian looked over, his arms still around his mother. Daniel. Help me to that chair, Daniel said, pointing to a bench against the wall. Maya and Adrian helped Daniel sit. His mother sat beside him, still holding Adrian's hand like she was afraid he'd disappear. Marcus returned and stood guard by the entrance. Daniel took a deep breath. 5 years ago, I discovered something. Something that changed everything. Your uncle Anton didn't just want to kill you, Adrian. He wanted to erase you. Because you weren't just the heir to your father's organization. He paused. You were the rightful heir to something much bigger. Adrian frowned. What are you talking about? Daniel looked at Adrian's mother. Tell him. She wiped her tears and looked at her son. Your father, he wasn't just a mafia boss. He was descended from one of the original 5 families that controlled organized crime across North America. Real power. Not just money and territory, but influence that reached into governments, corporations, every level of society. Adrian's face went pale. That's impossible. My father never. He kept it hidden, Daniel interrupted. Because that kind of power makes you a target. But before he died, he left behind proof. Documents. Bloodline records. Legal claims to assets worth billions. He hid it all in one place, knowing that one day, when you were ready, you'd need it to protect yourself. Maya's heart was pounding. The car. My father's car. Daniel nodded. I hid the documents in that old Chevy. Deep in the engine block, where no one would ever think to look. That's what Victor was really after. That's what Dominic wanted. Not just information, but proof of Adrian's birthright. Because if Adrian claimed what was rightfully his, he'd become one of the most powerful men in the entire underworld. Untouchable. Adrian sat down slowly, his head spinning. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was protecting you, Daniel said. Your uncle found out about the documents. He sent Victor to retrieve them. But I got to them first. I was going to give them to you, but then I realized something. He looked at Maya. If I disappeared, if everyone thought I was dead or had betrayed Adrian, they'd stop looking for the documents. They'd assume I destroyed them or hid them somewhere they'd never find. So I let Victor capture me. I let Dominic lock me away. And I trusted that one day, somehow, my daughter would find what I left behind. Maya's eyes filled with tears. You sacrificed 5 years of your life, for documents. Not for documents, Daniel said firmly. For Adrian's future. And for yours. Because I knew if Adrian claimed his birthright, he'd have the power to protect everyone he cared about. Including you. Adrian stood up and walked to the window, his back to everyone. His hands were shaking. I didn't want this. I never wanted to be part of something bigger. I just wanted to survive. But you're not just surviving anymore, Daniel said. You're living. You have people who care about you. People worth protecting. Your mother. Maya. Me. That's what real power is. Not money. Not territory. Family. Adrian turned around, and for the first time, Maya saw real tears streaming down his face. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be that. You don't have to do it alone, Maya said quietly. She stood up and walked to him. You've got us. Adrian looked down at her. Maya, if I claim this birthright, your life will never be normal. You'll be a target. Always. Everyone will know you're connected to me. You'll never be just a mechanic again. Good, Maya said. Because I don't want to be just a mechanic. I want to rebuild my father's shop. I want to honor his memory. But I also want to be part of something bigger. Something that matters. She took his hands. I want to be with you. Adrian's breath caught. Maya. I know who you are, Maya interrupted. I know what you've done. And I'm not asking you to change. I'm just asking you to let me in. To trust me the way I'm learning to trust you. Adrian stared at her. Then he pulled her close and pressed his forehead against hers. I never expected this. I never expected to fall for the one girl who challenged me. Who stood up to me. Who threatened everything I thought I knew about my empire. And now. Maya whispered. Now I can't imagine my empire without you in it, Adrian said. His cold blue eyes were warm now, filled with something Maya had never seen before. Love. You've changed everything, Maya Clark. You've changed me. Good, Maya said, smiling through her tears. Because you've changed me too. Adrian kissed her. It was soft and gentle, nothing like the cold, controlled man he usually was. It was a kiss filled with promise. With hope. With a future neither of them had expected. When they pulled apart, Daniel was smiling. Adrian's mother was crying happy tears. And Marcus was grinning like he'd just won the lottery. So, Marcus said. What's the plan, boss? Adrian looked around at the people he loved. His mother. His mentor. The woman who'd somehow stolen his heart. And he smiled. A real smile. The first one he'd worn in years. We go home, Adrian said. We rebuild. And we do it together. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Drop a comment below and tell me what you thought of Maya and Adrian's story. Did you see that twist coming? And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories like this one. You won't want to miss what comes next.